What is up, everybody? This is Jonathan SH, and in this video I'll be showing you the best ways to defeat a Lynel as safely as possible. This video will show you the best ways to counterattacks, combo burst damage, and send those Centaur unicorn men to hell where they belong. Until the next video. All you need to know for this video is the parry and perfect dodge, also known as the bat flip and side hop. This involves no advanced combat strategies or extreme use of resources. You don't have to waste a bunch of arrows or spam food to avoid death. These are the safest and most assured victory strategies for newer players or just people who aren't comfortable with Lynels and want to defeat them without learning shield block resets and a bunch of crazy stuff that's pretty hard to do. This video will be divided into 3 parts. We'll have part 1, which is preparation, and how you should prepare for these fights and what items or equipment you should have. Part 2 will be just general fighting and tips that apply to fight all different types of Lynels. Part 3 will have the different types of Lynels, sword, crusher, and spear Lynels, and what different attacks all of them have, and the best way to defeat them. Then at the end we just have a miscellaneous section, which is just some other tips that are sort of useful but not necessary. I'll have timestamps in the description. Without further ado, let's get into it. Part 1. Preparation, and how you should prepare for a fight with a Lynel. Never run straight into a Lynel fight if possible. If you happen to stumble upon one, it's fine, but if you are planning a strategic assault on a Lynel, you should always try to have as many advantages as possible. Save it before the fight is always fine, especially if you mess up and you want to restart. Make sure that you have weapons strong enough to last the fight. Shields are also very useful, but they're less important if you hit your parries, as no durability will be used. Be sure to have some food in case you mess up, but if you follow these steps you should be fine and totally healthy throughout the fight. For armor, I would say Knight's armor is very useful, as well as Barbarian armor. The attack up bonus on that is very useful against Lynels and really adds up. Also, Mighty food, the Mighty bananas, or really just attack up stuff, is very helpful, as it really adds up against Lynels when you're hit at them so much. Part 2. Now these next tips are applicable to any type of Lynel. When you start a fight with a Lynel, avoid just walking up to them. That makes it a fair fight. For the best advantage, I recommend jumping off the high ground above them, hitting a few arrow shots in slow-mo. If you hit the face, you can lie down next to it and jump on with A. While mounted, hit the Lynel as much as possible. After a few seconds, the Lynel will throw you off. Enter bullet time mid-air, the bow's slow-mo, and put a few more arrows in the back of its furry head. These last arrows won't stun, because they have resistance to stuns just so you can't chain these, but it's still a nice combo. Now, all types of Lynel share a few attacks. Now, they have the charge on all fours, the fire breath, the explosion roar, and the bow shots. As you can tell, none of these attacks are related to any specific weapon. Now I'll go over all the counters to these attacks. The charge. This is when they hit down on all fours and run at you. This can be parried or side hopped. If possible, always side hop. The flurry rush is much more damage than hit it at the Lynel temporarily stunned by your parry. Parries are also much riskier and should be avoided if possible and replaced with a flurry rush. This attack has a big window for a flurry rush, so there is no reason not to hit one when the Lynel does this. Then there's the fire breath. The Lynel will stop and breathe 3 bursts of fire at you. You can either run to the side of these or parry them. The Lynel rotates to hit you when you run, so you need to keep up the sprint. Players with small stamina wheels should avoid this option and just parry them. Messing up a parry will not be immediately punished, but it will let your guard down and the next one is sure to hit you. After this, there's the explosion roar. The Lynel will roar and you'll see little wind visual effects around it. After a moment, you'll slam the ground with his weapon and create a giant fiery explosion around you. Now there are 2 ways to deal with it. You can parry it and risk it lit on fire and blown up pretty bad. Or you just stand right outside the zone and punish the Lynel. If you parry, nothing really bad happens to the Lynel, and you still have the recovery time from the parry, in which case you sort of just break even. If you stand just outside, the Lynel will still be stunned after he does it, and you can serve him up with a few arrows to the face, and then mount him and hit in some more damage. Bottom line is just stand outside. When he's done with it, just hit him with some arrows and jump on. The final attack that all Lynels use is archery. This is the easiest to explain. Never, ever, ever give the Lynel any reason to take out its bow. All Lynels have special effect arrows, and if it takes out its bow, it stays out for a few more seconds at the least, even if you are nearby. When you approach the Lynel, be sure that it does not see you until you hit it in the face with an arrow, then quickly mount up. Lynels shoot 3 to 5 arrows and will serve up your ass if you get into a shootout. Also, even once it appears you are safe, still run. You're not safe. Lynels will shoot over walls and hills as tall as the Colosseum with perfect pinpoint accuracy. Even if they don't see you, they will still hit you. Do not let them draw the bow. Part 3. In this section, I'll tell you about all the different types of Lynels and how to defeat them. First up, we have the Sword Lynel. This is first because it's the easiest and most rewarded Lynel to defeat. All of their individual attacks are flurry rushable and are relatively undangerous. Here is the ability breakdown of their sword attacks. Basic swings. These are a set of 3 sword attacks that can be backflipped fairly easily. Please note that even hit a flurry rush does not cancel the rest of them, and be ready for more even if you hit the rush. Then there's the swipe lunge. The Lynel will swipe at you with both arms while lurching forward. These can be fairly easily predicted and backflipped consistently. Just like the other, be ready for more. Third attack, they will run sort of away from you, turn around, and run towards you. When they hit near, they will swing. This applies to all weapon types, but should be dealt with differently based off of the weapon. Backflip is an option, but this attack has such a small window for flurry rush that it is usually more efficient to just parry. Also a bonus tip for sword Lynels. The red Lynel in Zora's domain never changes rarity. If you are farther through the game but are uncomfortable with sword Lynel attacks in white, blue, and silver rarities, you can head over to Polymus Mountain and warm up on that one. Those are the tips you need for fighting sword Lynels. Next up is the Crusher Lynel. These are by far, at least in my opinion, the most deadly variety of Lynel. Their attacks consist of a horizontal slam, a slam after run, and a series of slams. They also have a spin and a run by swipe. The run by swipe, similar to the other Lynels, is best dealt with by parrying. The spin can be parried, but should just be avoided as it's hard to predict and is overall an unusual attack. The slams should be parried. The downward ones, those will happen after run it and in the series of slams, and be side hopped, but you have to go early to avoid the swing, because otherwise it will hit you on the head, and it will hurt. I recommend parrying all of Crusher Lynel attacks. Unfortunately, they take a lot longer to defeat because you don't have all the bonus hits from flurry rushes. To avoid having to counter these, I recommend shoot at the Lynel in the head to stun him and mount him. These are straightforward but difficult. This brings us to the final type, the Spear Lynel. These hold useless spears. They are not rewarded to defeat in any way, as their weapons are trash. They use the same basic abilities shared by all Lynels, as well as the run by swipe and the jump stab. The run by swipe can be dealt with similarly to the others. It is dodgeable, but should be parried for the best result. The jump stab is easy to predict. The Lynel hops backward and leaps high into the air with its spear out. It lands into small area damage. Once he jumps back up a few paces so the spear doesn't hit you directly. Try to parry right when he hits the ground. If you are late, backing up will ensure that the spear hits the shield and not you. Spear Lynels are not worth fighting as they have awful equipment and are generally a pain. Now it's time for some miscellaneous tips. Spear Lynels charge more often because they have a smaller skill set of abilities. Use this to your advantage and be ready with a flurry rush whenever one tries it. If you see a Lynel use it in an attack you don't want to deal with, use your Bose's Fury if you have it to stun it. Just make sure you can pull off a charge attack in time, or else the Lynel will punish you up close with a sword to the face. Use one-handed weapons is easier because any attacks you do not anticipate will hit your shield instead of you. If this video was helpful, please like and share it with your friends. Consider checking out my channel. I post a variety of Breath of the Wild content, including memes, montages, glitches, and more.